In this video, I'm going to be going through your flexibility test. So I'll talk briefly on the original test that you're going to see if you're going through applicant testing. Then I'll talk briefly on our modified version that we're using right now for our online schooling. And then I'll do some demonstration videos of what the test will look like. I'll also do some demonstrations of ways that you won't be successful in the test. Then I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks and things that you can do to help you be more successful. And then at the end, I'll also talk a little bit about how you can test yourself at home once it gets closer to the time that you go to applicant testing. So I'll first just talk briefly on the original test. So the test that we've used forever, the test that you'll see in the fit pin. So if you're looking into an avenue of policing, the flexibility sit and reach test is 10% of the fit pin test. That being said, the flexibility test can show up in more than just policing and in more than just the fit pin. I've seen it used in some fire services. I've seen it used in corrections. So this test with the exact same scoring sheet could show up in multiple areas depending on where you're applying. So the test itself uses a device called a flexometer. And you may have seen this or used it in any of your phys ed classes growing up, so maybe it's not new. What the device is it's a measuring tool that measures how far in a seated position you can reach forward, and it's the flexibility of your low back and of your hamstrings, so just that whole back portion of your body. So since we are at home right now, and I know I don't have a flexometer at home, I don't know if you guys do, but we kind of guessed you didn't. We had to modify this test to just be a pass-fail test. And the way that we modified it was, instead of having you measure, instead we just are making it a pass-fail of whether or not you can touch your toes. So how that equates to, or where that would put you so that you have an idea for the actual test, touching your toes will equate approximately to a 50% on the test. I'll link below here for you guys just so you have it to view the actual scoring sheet for the flexibility sit and reach test. So the way that the scoring sheet works is you'll look for your age, you'll look for your gender, and then it'll tell you how many centimeters you're required to stretch forward and flex. At the end of this video, I'll kind of give you a way that you can test this a little bit more if you're wondering, where do I fall on this chart? I'll give you an idea of how you can kind of test it at home. It won't be completely accurate, but at least you'll have an idea, so that when you're equaling out your 1.5-mile run and your push-ups and your flexibility and core endurance, you'll at least kind of know where you're gonna rate on that flexibility piece. So I'll just do some demonstration videos for you and explain as I go.
To set up for this test, find a wall. Sitting down on the ground, place your feet approximately 6 inches apart. Sitting up tall, stack your hands on top of each other, being sure that you're not allowing your hands to slide forward and back. Take a deep breath in, exhale, keep those knees completely straight, and reach forward until you meet the wall. You must hold here for a minimum of 2 seconds before you release and come back up. 2 quick tips to help you with this test. Number 1 is squeeze your quads. That'll help keep those knees down. And the second is to exhale all of your air out as you bend forward. Now I'll just highlight a couple of the technical errors. The first error that we see is with the hands. You have to keep those hands completely equal. As you can see, I'm sliding forward. It's a lot easier to reach with one side of your body. That's why we must have those fingers completely even. The second one here is the knees popping up. Remember, those knees have to stay completely flat in order to flex. The last one here is that quick tap. Remember, you have to hold for a minimum of 2 seconds. Now I'll just show you a way that you can practice for the flexometer test at home. So I'm just using a measuring tape, and I'm finding the 29 centimeter mark. That's approximately where your feet would reach in the flexometer. So setting it up on the floor and then lining my feet up so that my heels are at that 29 centimeter mark. From here, the rest of the test is the exact same. My knees will be straight, my hands are going to be stacked. I'll take a deep breath in, And then as I exhale, my head comes down and I'm going to reach as far forward as I can. So you may need somebody here just to see where my fingertips would land on the measuring tape, or you can tap it down and take a peek while you're down there. Again, you can take a peek at the scores below in the chart that I drop in the link just to see what centimeters you would need and what score that would equate to. So I threw in here just a couple stretches that you can do at home. All of these stretches will stretch that posterior chain, the back part of your body, and that will help you be more successful in the sit and reach test. So this first one here is called a hurdler stretch. So I'm just stretching one leg at a time and keeping that one leg completely straight, and then doing the same on the other side. Now I'll just show you very quickly these stretches. You should be holding these stretches for up to 1 minute, potentially longer, usually until you feel that muscles start to relax. The next one here is simulating the test itself, so just feet together and going through that whole same movement, but then holding down at this part for as long as you can. Keep that head down and then just keep breathing. The next one I'll show you here is for your low back. So a child's pose, reaching those fingertips forward and sitting my hips back towards my feet. The next stretch is going to work a little bit more on your glutes. So I like to start in my plank position just so that I can get my leg in the right spot. So this is your pigeon pose. So I'm trying to get that front leg kind of in a 90 degree and then just putting a little bit pressure by sitting back. Depending on your flexibility, you can come down to your elbows. If this stretch ever feels too heavy on your knees, you can switch it to a figure 4 stretch. I don't have it shown in this video, but you can search figure 4 and it'll stretch the same muscle group with just a little less pressure on your knees. Again, just come down to where you're comfortable, and I like to stay in these ones for even longer than a minute. You'll know when you start to feel the muscle relax, but for me personally, it generally takes more than a minute. I hope this helps.
So that was the breakdown of your flexibility test. I hope it was helpful to see the demonstration, some of the tips and tricks. Just remember that flexibility is such an important fitness component. Even outside of the fact that it's worth grades in this course, flexibility is going to be such a crucial part, especially in law enforcement, just to have a healthy low back, healthy hamstrings, and making those jobs and those tedious tasks of getting in and out of your cruiser, getting on and off of the truck, lifting and lowering any of your peers or victims. It's just such a huge part of fitness. And besides just having flexibility, it also aids in all the other components of fitness. So if you don't have a full range of motion, you're not going to be able to utilize that full muscle contraction, which means you're not going to have your peak strength or power or speed. So if you're noticing that you're struggling with your power or your running or some of your strength moves or your push-ups, it could be not necessarily that you're just not strong enough. It could be a factor that you just don't have the range of motion or the flexibility to bring that movement throughout its total range of motion. So just a little tip from your fitness teacher to really drive home that flexibility should be a part of not just 3 days a week after your exercise, but it should be focused on every single day. You can do flexibility 7 days a week, and it doesn't take that long to see a noticeable difference. So if you're doing this test or practicing this test and noticing, hey, I'm not even anywhere close to my toes, then this is something that if you start now and even doing little things that instead of sitting on your couch watching TV, have a seat on the floor and just stretch those legs out, sitting up and leaning forward until you feel a bit of a stretch in the back of your body, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you'll notice yourself inching forward and closer to your toes. So that's that. If you have any questions, as always, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. I'm happy to help in any way I can.